I hate it when my brother Charlie has to go away. My parents constantly try to explain to me how sick he is, that I am lucky for having a brain where all the chemicals flow properly to their destinations like undammed rivers. When I complain about how bored I am without a little brother to play with, they try to make me feel bad by pointing out that his boredom likely far surpasses mine, considering he's confined to a dark room in an institution. I always begged for them to give him one last chance. Of course, they did at first. Charlie has been back home several times, each shorter in duration than the last. Every time without fail, it all starts again. The neighborhood cats with gouged out eyes showing up in his toy chest. My dad's razors found dropped on the baby slide in the park across the street. Mom's vitamins replaced by bits of dishwasher tablets. My parents are hesitant now, using last chances, sparingly. They say his disorder makes him charming, makes it easy for him to fake normalcy, and to trick the doctors who care for him into thinking he is ready for rehabilitation. That I will just have to put up with my boredom if it means staying safe from him. I hate it when Charlie has to go away. It makes me have to pretend to be good until he is back. It was Black Friday, the day of irresistible deals and crowded stores, but I was drawn to the one place that defied the norm, an abandoned mall on the outskirts of town. It stood desolate, a relic of bustling days long gone. Rumors swirled about the mall. They said it was cursed, haunted by the spirits of trampled shoppers from a Black Friday long past. I laughed at these tales. Ghost stories were for kids, not for a bargain hunter like me. The mall's entrance creaked ominously as I pushed through. Inside, darkness clung to every corner, disturbed only by the feeble beam of my flashlight. I stepped into the atrium, the silence broken by my echoing footsteps. The air was cold, stale, untouched by time. Sale signs, faded and peeling, hung limply from the stores. Their promises of deals and discounts felt like whispers from another era. I wandered deeper, drawn by the thrill of exploring this forgotten temple of consumerism. As I passed an old toy store, a faint sound caught my attention. It was a giggle, soft, childlike. My heart raced. There was no one else here. Or was there? I shook off the fear, attributing the sound to my imagination. I continued, my curiosity leading me to what once was an electronics store. Its shelves were bare, but in the center lay a single dusty television set. It flickered to life as I approached. The screen showed the mall, vibrant and alive, filled with people. But their faces were twisted in horror, running from something unseen. I felt a chill run down my spine. This was impossible. Suddenly, the screen switched to a live feed of me standing in the store. A voice, distorted and chilling, whispered from the TV, "Join us." I turned, ready to flee, but stopped dead in my tracks. The mall was no longer empty. Figures stood in the shadows, their eyes hollow, their mouths gaping. They whispered in unison, "Join us." In panic, I ran, their whispers chasing me through the dark corridors. I burst out of the mall, gasping for air, the night suddenly feeling warmer, safer. But the horror wasn't over. My phone vibrated. A notification for a Black Friday sale at the abandoned mall. The image attached showed the crowd inside, and there among the twisted faces was mine, eyes hollow, mouth agape. Looked back at the mall. It was silent, dark, abandoned. But I knew better. I was part of it now, part of the Black Friday that never ends. There are strange fires in my new town, and a girl is missing. I pulled out my phone to look at nothing. A moment later, it struck me that this modern compulsion had me again. Whenever I want a distraction from something I don't want to face, I pull out my phone. I've got to break that habit. Oh well, I might as well jump right in. That's always better than tiptoeing into the shallow end. I jammed my phone into my pocket and walked towards the front entrance of Lakeside High School. Once inside, I didn't make it far down the fluorescent hallway before I was staring dumbly at something else, my schedule. I had no idea where to go. "Do you need any help, young man?" I looked up to see a bear of a man standing before me. Yes, this is my first day and I have no idea where I'm going." "Let's see what you have here," he said as he joined me at my side. AP Psychology, room 306. He looked at his wristwatch. "You're cutting it close. You better follow me." I hurried to follow beside him, taking 2 steps for every one of his. The big man moved quicker than I would have expected. As we made our way through the twists and turns of the hallways, I noticed a few kids casting odd glances in our direction. I probably looked like I was already in some kind of trouble. "You must be Jack Lacey," said the man. "Yes, sir, that's me. How'd you know?" "I'm Principal Jefferson, but most of the kids call me Dr. J. It's not often we get a new student in our small town." "Oh, okay, that makes sense. It's nice to meet you," I said. "What do you think of Egress Valley? Have you explored the town much yet?" "I like it so far. I grew up in a much bigger city than this, but it seems like a nice place to live. And no, my dad's been here for a month or so, but I've been spending the summer with friends back where I'm from. I just got here a few days ago." "Well, I'm sure you'll get along just fine with your classmates here, and in time, I think you'll come to see Egress Valley as the hidden gem that it is. There's a lot of good... son of a gun, Johnny." Dr. Jefferson trailed off. Hooked up, following his stony gaze toward a little section of wall between the girls' and boys' bathroom. He made a beeline to the wall and in one quick motion ripped the paper down that had been hastily taped in. "What was that?" I asked. "Nothing to worry about, Jack," he said as he crumpled up the paper and shoved it into his pocket. "Even a town like Egress Valley has its troublemakers. And here we are, room 306, he said, as he gestured towards the doorway across the hall. "I've got to be going now. If you need any further assistance, don't hesitate to ask." And with that, he turned on a dime and strode back the way we came. I thought it was strange how the poster made him react, but what's even stranger is what the poster said. "Missing, Anna Reese." And beneath it, "Ghosts don't light fires." I filed into class with the last few students and picked out a desk near the back of the room. As I sat waiting for the teacher to start, I felt a small tap on my shoulder. "I saw you with Dr. J. Are you already in trouble?" I turned in my desk to see a pixie-faced girl smiling at me past a nose ring. "Not yet. He was just showing me where to go. I'm new here," I answered. "Well, obviously you're new. We have less than 50 students in our class. Everybody knows everybody." "Yeah, I guess I'm not used to the whole small town thing yet." "I'm Jack," I said. "Olivia," she said, smiling again. "Maybe you can answer something for me. I just saw a missing poster in the hallway and the principal was acting sketchy about it. Who's Anna Reese?" Her smile quickly faded away. Just as she was about to respond, the bell rang for the start of class, and the teacher went into his first day of class monologue. "I'll have to tell you later," she whispered. We didn't get another chance to talk until the end of class, when we were all shuffling out the door. "Where is the gym at? I have physical education with Coach Barnes next," I said. "Take hall 300 back to the main hall, and then take a left. Keep going past the cafeteria, and it'll be on your right." "Got it, thanks. So, you were going to tell me about Anna?" She pursed her lips and took a moment to find the right words. "She went missing last year. There are some crazy conspiracies about what happened, but I don't believe any of it. I like to think she's okay and ran away to a more exciting life. She never did like Egress Valley." "Were you close to her?" "Not as close as I should have been. But anyways, I've got to go this way," she said as she edged down the hallway in the opposite direction. "I'll see you later." "Welcome to PE. I'm Coach Barnes," said an overweight, balding man in a tracksuit. "The basketballs are over there. I'll be in my office." "Why is he wearing sunglasses inside?" I asked the tall, lanky kid standing next to me. "He's hungover," he said nonchalantly, and then ran to pick up a basketball. Those who didn't want to play started to gather in small groups on the bleachers. Sports come more naturally to me than socializing, so Elle was about to join in the basketball game when something caught my eye in the corner of the gymnasium. There was a small poster taped crookedly on the wall. I instantly recognized the ghostly face of Anna Reese and went take a closer look. Anna looked like she was a million miles away in the photo. She may have been staring at the camera, but she was somewhere else entirely, maybe thinking of the place she would run away to. Even so, she was quite striking, with the contrast of dark hair, green eyes, and fair skin. She almost looked familiar. I kept scanning the poster, and I noticed two things that I didn't catch from the glimpse I had earlier. Last seen on February 25th, 2023, and a number to call if you had any information. I pulled out my phone and snapped a photo of the poster. Pretty, wasn't she? said a voice to the side of the bleachers. Where did this guy come from? I didn't see him when class started. He had a scruffy face and long blonde hair coming out the back of his baseball hat. He looked a little old to be a student, but maybe it was just his disheveled appearance that was throwing me off. Yeah, she was... What happened to her? I asked. I've been trying to figure that out for the past year. Nobody else seems to care. They just moved on as if she never existed. Did you put the posters up? Yeah, I did. And I'll keep putting them up and keep asking questions until I get to the bottom of it. I don't care if people say I'm crazy. I don't think that's crazy. What does this part about ghosts not lighting fires mean? Oh, you haven't heard about our town's claim to fame yet? No, I just got here a couple of days ago. Silence hung in the air for a moment. I'm going outside to smoke a cigarette, he said, as he nodded to the back exit of the gymnasium. Do you want to join me? I looked back at Coach Barnes' office to see the top of his shiny bald head poking over his computer monitor. Sure, why not? We slipped out the back door, and I followed the stranger around the corner of the building. He picked a spot and leaned up against the brick exterior of the gymnasium. You smoke? He said, as he pulled a pack of cigarettes from his denim jacket. Usually only when I drink, but why not? I'll take one. He lit one for himself, handed the pack to me, and took a long drag of his cigarette. You see that mountain to the north? He pointed to the tallest spot on the evergreen-laden mountains that surround Egress Valley. There's a house up there, or at least what's left of a house. Most of it has rotted away, probably 100 years ago, and the only thing left standing is a massive stone chimney and fireplace. It's called Wolin Manor. I nodded, wondering how this related to Anna. Every now and then, when you're least expecting it, a huge fire will erupt out of the chimney and light up the whole mountainside. And I mean huge. It looks like a damn dragon. Some people say it's kids that sneak up there and dump a bunch of gas in the chimney just to freak out the locals. I never bought that. There's something strange going on, I can feel it. Some of the Olo-timers call it the Wolin Ghost Fires. It's haunted? I asked. I don't know if that's the right word for it. They just call it that because nobody has an explanation for it. People have gone up there periodically to see if somebody was up to trouble, but there's never anybody there or any residue or evidence of a fire at all. It's been happening as long as the town has been here. That's crazy. What do you think's going on? I asked. No idea, but something is dead wrong about that place. When is the last time it happened? February 25th of last year. No way, that's the night Anna disappeared, right? And you think it has something to do with her going missing? The detectives didn't, but they ain't worth a flip. But yeah, I'd bet my life on it. Anna was getting into some strange things before she turned up missing. Like what? If I'm being blunt, she was dabbling in witchcraft. She said it was white magic and I didn't have anything to be worried about. You guys were friends, I take it. She was my girlfriend. I told her there's no such thing as white magic, that it's all bad. I used to tell her she had a little bit of Slytherin in her. Honestly, I didn't take it that seriously. She was one of those Harry Potter girls, you know. I do. You must be Johnny, I said as I put out my cigarette. He laughed. Does my reputation precede me? I heard the principal grumbling your name as he ripped down a poster this morning. I'm Jack. Pleasure to meet you, Jack. You want another? No, I'm good, thanks though. So, what was Anna doing the night she went missing? Well, we had been watching TV at my house, but she left at about 9 p.m. She only lives 4 houses down from me, so I didn't walk her home or anything. Her family said she got home and didn't bother eating dinner. She just went straight to her room. The next day, she didn't show up to school and her phone was going straight to voicemail. I went to her house that evening thinking she must have been sick or something, but her parents and her sister didn't know where she was. Turns out, her window was unlocked. She slipped out that night and went somewhere. The police were notified, and we all called everybody we knew, but the trail was already cold. Only one piece of evidence was ever found. There's a gas station at the edge of town, and it has a security camera that points towards the gas pumps. It caught her walking down the sidewalk just after 3 a.m. heading north. The only thing past that gas station is woods, and the only thing in those woods is Wolin Manor. Our conversation was interrupted by the click of the door handle around the corner. Nice talking to you, Jack. I gotta go. and Johnny took off running around the far side of the gymnasium. I turned to see black aviators staring down at me, and then to the smoldering cigarette butt in my hand. I looked at Coach Barnes' pale face, and then to the pack of cigarettes in his hand. "I won't rat you out if you don't rat me out," he said. "Fair enough," I responded. "Get back inside, kid." Other than lunch, there isn't much to say about the rest of the school day. The only person I knew in my lunch period was Olivia, and she happened to be sitting by herself. I sat with her, and we actually seemed to get along pretty well. We just talked about normal, getting to know each other kind of stuff. I restrained myself from bringing up Anna for now. She didn't seem to want to talk about it. She offered to show me around town sometime soon, and I planned to take her up on that. In what was my greatest achievement of the day, I asked for her number, and she gave it to me. When I got home, I decided to do some research. I Googled Anna's name and scoured the web for any more information on her. I didn't find anything besides the reports that she had gone missing. The Wohlen ghost fires were never mentioned. With nothing to do but kill time, I grabbed my skateboard and headed into town. My dad was going to be working late, as usual, so I was on my own that evening. After exploring the town and skating for a few hours, I found a pizza restaurant and grabbed a few slices. It was a little after 9 when I started to head back home. I was walking up the long hill towards my house with my back to the town and mindlessly scrolling on my phone when a sudden flash of light snapped me out of my trance. Everything got momentarily brighter, like a slow-motion lightning strike. I turned to see fire bellowing out of the northernmost mountain. The ghost fires were back, and my jaw dropped at the sight of it. Johnny wasn't exaggerating. A pillar of fire that must have been 40 feet tall bellowed into the night sky. I wanted to tell someone about it, ask them if I'm seeing things, but nobody was around. Then I remembered Olivia's number. I never call a girl the first day I get her number, but this had to be a legitimate exception. I pressed call and waited. No response. Just as I was about to put my phone away, another thought struck me. The number on the poster. Johnny. I hesitated for a moment, thinking it might be weird to call him, but what the heck, this was probably just the kind of call he was waiting on. "Hello?" "Hey, Johnny. It's Jack from gym class today." He was breathing heavily on the other line. It sounded like he was running. "Oh, hey, brother. I'm guessing you just saw your first ghost fire." "Yeah. I'm just making sure I'm not going crazy." "You're not. What are you doing right now?" "Nothing. I'm just walking home from town." "Cool. Look, man, I'm going up there right now. You want to come with me?" My dad wouldn't be back until midnight, and this was too interesting to pass up. "Where should I meet you at?" "You know where the gas station is?" "Yeah, I saw it earlier." "Okay, good deal. I'll see you there." After I hung up, I texted Olivia to explain why I called and told her I was going to check out the fire with Johnny. I hopped back on my skateboard and sped off into the darkness. Johnny was standing in front of the gas station with a backpack strapped over his shoulders. "We gotta go, Jack. I've been waiting for that fire to go off for 6 months." "Okay, let's do it. I'm following you." Johnny was running for the tree line before I could even get off my board. I picked it up and broke out in a full sprint to catch up to him. Thankfully, it was a full moon, and the small spaces between the trees provided just enough light for us to see where we were going. It didn't take long, and a stitch started to form in my side, but I wasn't going to fall behind, so I breathed deeper and put the pain out of my mind. Johnny was running like a madman, hopping over roots, rocks, and plowing through any underbrush in our way. We ran for about a mile before finally slowing. He turned and said in a hushed voice, "We gotta be quiet from here on. It's right up ahead." I was grateful the running was over. My heart was about to pound out of my chest. Slowly, we edged up through the trees, and up ahead I could see a clearing. Once we were at the edge of the clearing, we stopped behind a giant pine tree and peered around the edge. About 20 yards away was the old chimney. All was quiet and cold, and we didn't move a muscle. "Should we go closer?" I asked in a whisper. "Shh, do you hear that?" said Johnny as he pointed to the right of the clearing. I tried to quiet the pounding of my heart, and as I focused, I could hear it. Leaves crunching in a rhythmic pattern. It was footsteps. A figure emerged from the trees. It was cloaked in black and unnaturally tall. It must have been over 7 feet. "Holy crow," Johnny whispered. Long white hair flowed and waved out of the hood as the lean figure strode towards the chimney. It was carrying something bulky. Oh hell, it was a deer. Despite the weight, it was moving effortlessly, almost gracefully. My phone started vibrating at the worst possible moment. I frantically reached for the silence switch and prayed that I didn't give us away. The figure stopped and lifted its head in our direction. The empty blackness of its hood was almost too much to bear. For a long moment, it bore its gaze down on us, but then, mercifully, it turned away and continued towards the chimney. As it approached, a long, delicate white hand reached into a pocket of the cloak and pulled out a small satchel. With quick and nimble fingers, it loosened the satchel and flicked something into the chimney. A fine gold dust shimmered in the air and settled in the fireplace. A split second later, a fire roared to life and consuming flames screamed out the top of the chimney. The sudden power and hunger of the fire pulled at the air around us. What happened next sent shivers down my spine. The figure placed the deer in the fireplace and pushed it towards the back wall with total disregard for the flames. The fire didn't burn the cloak or the thing's white hands or even the deer itself. Instead, as the poor animal was pushed further in the fireplace, it began to shrink away. It wasn't growing smaller, but going somewhere else. As if there were a trap door it was being pushed through. Next, the figure followed, bending down and crawling headfirst into the fireplace. It pushed itself further and further into the flames, gradually disappearing to wherever the deer had gone. We didn't speak until the last of the black cloak had slipped through the back wall. "What did we just see?" I said. "Let's find out," said Johnny as he rounded the tree and marched towards the chimney. I reached out to grab his backpack and hold him back, and in doing so accidentally partially unzipped the main pouch. "Let go, Jack. We've got to follow this thing. This might be our only chance to find Anna." He grabbed my arm and pulled me towards the chimney. The flames were still there, but they were dying down quickly. To my astonishment, Johnny practically dove into the fire and with his vice-like grip on my arm pulled me along with him. A weighty warmth enveloped my body, and although the flames didn't burn me, I struggled with all my might to escape the fireplace. It was useless. Whether it was Johnny pulling me or the fireplace itself, I'm not sure, but the result was me falling headfirst into darkness and then onto a cold stone floor. We fell into the strange room with a pop, like we had burst out a bubble that floated us from one world to the next. I scrambled to my feet and took in my surroundings. A wooden table sat next to me with a small satchel sitting on it and a black cloak hanging off the chair. The chair was cartoonishly large, no doubt built for whatever giant creature lived here. Thankfully, the figure that had been wearing the cloak wasn't in the room with us. The dead deer was laying on the floor, and beyond it was a door that was left slightly ajar. Footsteps sounded like they were walking up a set of stairs somewhere in the house. My grip tightened on the skateboard that was still in my hand. "What's wrong with you, man? Why did you do that?" asked Johnny in a hushed voice. "Relax. I had to do it. It's nothing personal, Jack," he said. "What's that supposed to mean?" I asked. He lifted a finger to his lips, signaling for me to shut up. I pulled out my phone to see if I had cell service. This was more out of habit than actually believing I would have any reception, but this would be a great time to call the cops if I could. No bars as expected, but I did have a missed call from Olivia and a missed text message from her. "Don't go with Johnny. He's dangerous." I should have told you before, but Anna is my sister. She was last seen with a guy that looked like Johnny on a security camera heading towards the woods the night she went missing. Nobody could ever prove anything, but something is wrong with him. I looked up at Johnny, who was now tiptoeing to the open door. In his partially open backpack, I could see a few things. Some basic camping gear, a few snacks, a large knife, and right on top a notebook with a large pentagram drawn on the cover. I suddenly felt very alone in this strange place. Soft whimpering could be heard from the next room. As Johnny entered it, a new voice started speaking. "Johnny, please, you have to get me out of here. Why are you doing this?" It sounded weak and exhausted. "Shut up, Anna," said Johnny. I walked through the doorway to see the poor girl crammed into a cage that was much too small for her. She was malnourished and on the brink of death, but when her eyes met mine, they flashed with the slightest glimmer of hope. Johnny sat his backpack down and began reaching FR something, the knife. "You're very lucky, Jack. Not very many people get to meet the Witch of Wohlen Manor. She'll make good use of you." I didn't give him a chance to say another word. I reared back and swung my skateboard as hard as I could, connecting one of the wheels with the side of his temple. Johnny crumpled on the ground with a dull thud. "Who's there? Has someone snuck into my house?" A shrill voice said from somewhere upstairs. It sounded like it was delighted to potentially have another victim. I looked at Anna and then to the lock on the cage. Large footsteps were coming down the stairs. I had to think fast. I grabbed Johnny's knife, jammed it into the U of the lock, and twisted with all my might. The old lock creaked and shivered, and then with a great commotion, broke into and fell to the floor. I swung the gate open and pulled out the frail girl. The footsteps were now just around the corner. Anna put her arm around my shoulder, and I helped her as quickly as I could back to the room with the fireplace. A terrible scream rang through the air. "No! Get back in your cage, girl!" I slammed the door closed and locked it behind us. A second later, the witch was pounding and scratching at the door, trying to get in. I didn't know if this was going to work, but it was my only option. I grabbed the small satchel from the table and jammed my hand inside, grabbing the biggest handful of golden dust that I could. I flung it into the fireplace, and instantly it roared to life. Only this time it was even bigger and more powerful than before. The stones cracked and groaned under the pressure. I feared that I may have used too much. I looked at Anna's weak eyes. "Ku, you have to trust me, okay?" All she could manage was a nod. Helped her into the fireplace and pushed her towards the back wall. The door exploded in behind us, and I heard the witch running towards me. I didn't turn back. Instead, I dove headfirst into the fire, pushing Anna and myself all the way through. We tumbled in complete darkness for a moment and then popped out on the forest floor. The chimney was now roaring so loudly that I couldn't hear a thing. I turned just in time to see large stones falling from the top. I jumped up and pushed us out of the way. We backed towards the tree line, and to my horror, a long white arm reached through the fire, grasping for us. With one final explosion of light, the fireplace shuddered and collapsed in on itself. The fire went out, and all that was left was a great heap of rubble and stone. Anna threw her skinny arms around me and started TV. "Thank you so much. You saved my life. Thank you," she said. "It's okay. We're going to be all right," I said. With her arm around my shoulder, we started to walk back towards town, and I pulled out my phone to call Olivia.